You're probably wondering how I got here. I asked Netflix for a press screener for White Noise because Adam Driver was in two of my favorite films of 2021, House of Gucci and The Last Duel. I looked through what was coming up on Netflix's roster and saw the title White Noise and the fact that Adam Driver was the lead performer, and I thought, well, that's a good enough reason. Let's see what this is, and then I can review it for my channel. I got my screener and attempted to watch the film. White Noise has a runtime of 2 hours and 16 minutes, and yet it probably took me anywhere between 4 and 5.5 hours to finish it. I don't know exactly. Why is that, you may ask? Well, when I am watching a film or even a television series at home, especially on a platform like Netflix, I am used to quickly clicking out of something when it stops being interesting or engaging or entertaining in any way. Something about the way these characters were speaking, emoting, or I suppose not emoting, the way the film looked, the way it was edited, just everything about it had me ready to call it quits in 10 minutes. But I asked for this. I asked for a screener for White Noise, so I didn't feel like I was allowed to just not watch it when I went out of my way to ask for the opportunity to watch it early in the first place. But because it was so difficult to stay concentrated on what was happening, or even to retain information, I had to keep pausing to try to get myself re-energized into being able to keep watching, or I would have to rewind the film to try to rewatch whatever it was that wasn't sinking in the first time around. As I have said in the title of this video, I found this film to be very esoteric. By definition, that means I don't think this film will appeal to no one. So if any of you are watching this and you are feeling perturbed that my opinion of it isn't flattering, don't be. I'm not here to rain on anyone's parade or to make any hyperbolic claims that absolutely no one could ever find this film to be enjoyable. Apparently, it's already gotten good reviews from some people. Fine. So just to be abundantly clear, the only reason why I am here to review this is because I brought this viewing experience on myself by asking to see it, and I don't want any publicists from Netflix to go checking my channel for a review and finding nothing when they are expecting it to be there. I don't know if it's something that they would actually do, but better safe than sorry. The general premise of White Noise is that you have Jack and Babette, who are married, they have a few children, and then their lives as they know them are completely thrown off course because of an airborne toxic event, which is caused by an accident where a truck crashes into a train and it sends a bunch of chemical waste spilling into the air over the town. The story should feel more resonant than it does, given how recent and ongoing the audience experience is with a global pandemic, but so much of this film feels like an incoherent jumble of too many ideas with little to no follow-through on any of them. You have the external conflict of the family being displaced, albeit temporarily, from their home. Immediately following the explosion, they and many others in the town are supposed to take shelter in a bunker. Nothing about how the aftermath of this disaster is presented in a way that makes me feel dramatic tension, urgency, danger, or emotional peril at all. It's not present in the acting or the editing. Now, before any of you jump at me and presume that I'm claiming that there is a problem with Adam Driver's acting ability, no, that is not the case at all. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I've seen him in other things where I thought he was excellent. But if you have him playing dramatic scenes to do with a catastrophic chemical spill, and I don't feel like he's effectively emoting the stakes of the situation, then what exactly was the purpose of hiring him to be in this movie in the first place? If you're trying to tell me that this character struggles to emote in ways that make sense, then why is this a problem I am experiencing with every single character in this movie? They all feel alien to such an extent that it blocks me from emotionally connecting with anyone in this story, and if I can't connect to any character, then I won't be able to connect with the story. I didn't like the visual presentation of this film at all. There are things that are clearly being done to try to elevate the artistry, but all it amounted to for me was exposing how little substance there was, that no amount of cross-fading or slow panning or any other cinematography or editing trick you could throw at this story could make it worth my time. To pick just one example of this, there is a point early on in the film where they are establishing Jack and Babette as a couple, and they cut in these shots while they're talking talking to each other and walking down the street, shots of their hands being joined and of his fingers moving across her back. And that particular shot of his fingers moving across her back has weird framing where, because his hand is moving, you're not getting a picturesque view of this moment or this movement because it feels like it's been overly cropped in. And that is such a perfect snapshot of the failure of this film to effectively convey its own concepts. So you want me to see these two as a romantic couple. You want me to feel that they love each other, and yet I didn't buy into their love connection at any point in time. It feels like this was made by someone who has absolutely no idea how to communicate romance to an audience. I'm not saying that that's definitively the case. I'm saying that that's how it felt specifically when watching this one movie. If you've been watching my videos over the course of this year, then you already know that I love a good romance. I am overly prone to ranting about how the rom-com revival both needs to happen and is in fact inevitable.
Fine, a nickel for every time I got in a fist fight during a chick flick.
I think any film critic who degrades rom-coms as being something inherently inferior to dramas is someone who I have zero interest in following professionally.
Stop talking.
You want me to believe that these two characters are in love, but do absolutely nothing with your script, with how you direct them to perform, or how you film or edit them to convince me of this fact.
It was really embarrassing.
This is a perfect time for me to start getting into some more of the spoilers. Now, normally I try to avoid sharing too many spoilers before a film has had its wide release, but I was told by the publicity contact that there was no embargo anymore, and there was not a do not reveal list, which makes sense since this film is based on a book that was published back in 1985. If you don't want to hear any more details, you are welcome to click off. Now, one of the central points of conflict within this marriage is that both Jack and Babette fear their own mortality. This is at first established early on in the film when they are lying in bed together, waxing poetic about how they hope they both just stay alive forever together, just decaying, which is about as romantic as the end of Jeu d'Enfant, but let me not go on that rant today. And just when you think that exchange was little more than a flat attempt at establishing romantic chemistry, it comes back through what is supposed to be one of the big dramatic moments of the film. Babette admits to having an extramarital affair, which she only engaged in because she wanted access to a psycho-experimental drug called Dylar. She wanted Dylar because she believed that it would help her to cope with her fear of dying. This whole scene, this falling out, was a mess. You've got Babette monologuing about her fear of dying and her affair, and I'm supposed to feel bad for her. I don't. And it wasn't because of her actions. Maybe if it had been acted differently, I could have gotten into what was happening, but I just felt nothing at this point except for boredom. It's supposed to be this big, devastating revelation, but since you never got me invested in them as a couple in the first place, I just don't care. Jack kisses his wife during this fight, and then he starts crying, and I laughed. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I genuinely laughed because everything I was seeing was just so absurd and not in a good way. Why are you crying? You've expressed nary an emotion for this entire movie, and you're not going to justify that by claiming, oh, well, he's just emotionally stunted. No! No, I reject that premise. He is finally emoting something, and then it lasts for all of 3 seconds at most. That gives me no time as a viewer to live in that moment with him. So how am I supposed to believe that this really hurt him? That this was truly a betrayal that had a profound impact on him? He's still emotionally vacant when he goes and hunts down the man that she slept with. This movie was such a chore to watch, and it put me in such a bad mood that I had to immediately follow it up by watching Blast from the Past, Austin Land, and Emma 2020 just to lift me out of the deep cavern of nothingness that white noise tried to bury me in. 3 feel-good movies just to get me back to where I should have been. Doing a story that is so perfectly set up to say something interesting, allegorically, about the way the human species has suffered emotionally and psychologically from a global pandemic, yet it was also disjointed with the most uninteresting characters I've seen in months that I could hardly stand it. You want to reflect on the mortality of the human condition? You want to say something about the types of people who have guns? You want to have annoying children breaking the dramatic tension of any and every scene they're in? Are you trying to say something about Big Pharma? Pick a theme. any theme and do something interesting with it. I implore you. I really thought that going into this, even if there were going to be some things that I didn't enjoy about the film, that at least Adam Driver could have saved it because he's Adam Driver. Yet somehow, even though the awards show circles snubbed him and his colleagues for their superb work on both House of Gucci and The Last Duel all season last year, this mess of a movie was what garnered him another awards show nomination. He could not save this movie, and that is no reflection on his skills as an actor. How can you put an attempted murder in a movie and still bore me? It felt like everyone in this movie was speaking with a cadence or frequency specifically designed to make me completely disassociate with my surroundings to try to escape the experience of having to sit through watching whatever this movie was.
Look, I'm not used to paying attention to super boring, long stuff, okay?
I was wondering if I was completely alone and feeling baffled and annoyed by White Noise until I went to its Letterboxd reviews and sorted them from worst to best and saw several other people who had a similar viewing experience. And it felt validating in a way. It felt like I wasn't alone. That's probably the feeling that you should have been able to instill in me from the movie itself.
I saw that going differently in my mind.
I tried repeatedly to follow the story, to engage with it, to connect with the characters. I tried for hours, and it simply did not work for me. Now, hopefully, nothing like this will ever happen again, since I typically try to ask for screeners of things because I want to watch them, and am expecting going into that I'm going to get something positive from the viewing experience. If any of you made it this far and enjoyed White Noise, that's great for you, but it simply wasn't for me. My next video will be on Avatar: The Way of Water, and I fully expect that experience of both seeing the film and reviewing it will be far more pleasant, since that is one of my most anticipated films of the entire year. I loved the first one, and I trust James Cameron to deliver to me exactly what I showed up to the cinema to see. See you then. Bye.